Joe, one of the big stories that we are tracking this year on Movies Baby is Paul Thomas Anderson's new movie, One Battle After Another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. It's now slated for a September 26th release date.
That's soon.
Yeah, get in line now. Get in line at your local multiplex
That's
now.
soon.
Now, Joe, this is an unprecedented movie in a lot of ways because PTA, our good pal PTA, he's never had a budget over $40 million in his career until Warner Brothers decided to give him $140 million. So he's never had a budget over 40. Now he has a budget of 140 as part of Warner Brothers' auteur strategy for 2025. A PTA movie has also never grossed in total more than $77 million, which is what There Will Be Blood made. So in other words, his highest gross ever is essentially half of the production budget for One Battle After Another. So this is, putting it lightly, a risky move by Warner Brothers and Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy, who are running Warner Brothers for now. And because of this, I think our approach to the movie so far has been very optimistic about the movie, very excited for the movie.
Right.
Thank you, Warner Brothers.
The quality of the movie.
Yes.
You're like, this looks good.
Here we go.
Right.
Very excited. But then, sort of pessimistic about the box office performance of the movie, thinking like there's just, listen to what I just read. The numbers just don't seem to work out. So, our assumption is that it's going to be a great movie that's going to lose Warner Brothers a big chunk of change. But hold the phone, Joe.
Okay.
Hold the freaking phone, okay?
Did you hear something?
I did not hear something. I saw something and I experienced something, which has made me adjust my expectations for One Battle After Another, which is that I saw, for the first time, I was at, as you were, we saw The Amateur, the Rami Malek movie, in theaters last week. We were two of the people who did that.
We did do that.
And before my screening of The Amateur, on IMAX, I saw for the first time the One Battle After Another trailer in a theater with other people on an IMAX screen. I, of course, I'd watched it 100 times on YouTube. First time I'd seen it in a theater on a screen. And holy shit, Joe, this thing has power. This thing makes you sit up and take notice, because when watching that trailer in the theater, it made me realize two things. Number one, oh my God, trailer making is a lost art. We go to AMC every freaking week, and I like to get there early so I can see the trailer, so I can get the vibes, and so on and so forth. We just sit through so many just generic, mind-numbing, poorly soundtracked trailers week after week after week. They all flow together. You see them 100 times, blah, 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 all the beats, blah, blah, blah. When you see like a truly like electrifying original trailer, there was an energy.
The best.
It was the best.
The best.
I'd forgotten how good it was.
A good trailer where everyone's like, oh,
yes,
that's the greatest feeling ever.
Joe, after this trailer played, and this is a 3 p.m. Thursday screening of The Amateur, right? These people are like, we're not technically real people. We're not alive.
Right.
We're
Everyone's there to hide.
Yes.
Yeah, right. They're not there to like commune.
From their lives, from an outstanding warrant. Everyone is there to hide from something. After that trailer played, there was an electricity in the theater, and a guy a few rows in front of me literally audibly goes, shit. Said that out loud and like voiced what all, and then there was like a little murmur of sort of shit, yeah, shit, because it's what we were all feeling and thinking was like, shit, a movie, holy shit.
You're saying the trailer is so good.
Yes.
That what?
Well, okay. And in particular, it's good in certain ways. Okay, it is like electric and it's weird and it's kind of funny, and Leo's going for it. And you don't fully know what the movie is about, but you like everything that you're seeing, and it's action-packed.
Yes.
And it looks like it's going to be both accessible and sort of challenging in fun ways. So it has both those things going on. And it's unique. It like cuts through the noise. So here's what I think, Joe.
Yeah.
I think Warner Brothers could actually pull this off. I think after experiencing this trailer in theaters, I think One Battle After Another could actually be a hit for Warner Brothers this year. I think it has the ability to cut through the noise. I think it could become, viral, which when we talk about Minecraft movie later today, we know that's a major key to any movie's success nowadays, is that it becomes viral, becomes a little bit of a meme. And then the fact that they moved it back to September 26th means they're probably going to make an awards season FYC run for this thing, because it was originally in August, sort of like a soft summer blockbuster sort of release date, and now it's getting into awards season. So if it has a big sort of viral opening, everyone's really excited about it. And then if it gets an award season campaign, that gives it staying power, right? Yep. That gives it a long tail. Yep. I think they could actually pull this thing off. And that's the first time I'm saying that this year. I thought this was going to be a big, a great movie that flops financially. I don't know. I think Warner Brothers could pull this off if they play their cards right, based on what I saw and felt at the amateur screening on Thursday at 3 p.m. last week.
I like your take. Here's some thoughts I have, and it's not throwing cold water on it. It's just thoughts around this. Number one, the Sinners trailer, another Warner Brothers movie, is coming out. Sinners is coming out next week. Now, the trailers have been a mixed bag. I haven't been like, I'm excited about the words. Oh, I love Ryan Coogler. I love Michael B. Jordan. I love what's going on here. I love the originalness. I love how big it looks and beautiful it looks. But what is this going to be? Is this just another vampire movie? I don't know. The trailers, per se, didn't blow me away. But what has been blowing me away is this awesome 2-week before the movie campaign they've been running. And they've been doing great. Ryan Coogler's all around town. I do feel like the newest trailer for Sinners has gotten people excited. I kind of feel like Sinners buzz. There was a clip of Ryan Coogler, a 10-minute long clip of him explaining all the different formats that you can watch this movie in that went totally viral. It has like 12, 13 million views as we speak right now. And it's a 10-minute video of the director going, here's what perforations are on 70. Here's what a 15. Okay, what's going on?
We're getting an Amber Alert. Live awful. Amber Alert live. Oh no! Earthquake detected.
Oh God!
Drop cover hold. I mean, we would have.
Well, should we drop and cover right now?
I don't know. I mean, if there's not an earthquake happening. I don't feel anything.
If everything starts shaking, then we'll go viral.
Yeah, we'd be about to have an earthquake live on the stream.
That'd be funny.
What if it's the big one? What if it really is the big one, and we're joking about it being the big one before it becomes the big one?
Then we're gonna go viral for sure.
Oh God!
Listen to this. So Ryan Coogler's been running a great 2 weeks, and Warner Brothers been running a great 2 weeks, and I'm excited. I watched the Ryan Coogler. I said, I want to see that in IMAX, 15 perforation, 70 millimeter. Oh my God. The way Ryan Coogler intended me to see it. Anyway, I bought my ticket. It's fucking sold out all weekend. All the screenings of Sinners, all the different formats. There's just no seats available. It's just going, and that movie doesn't come out for days.
So did Warner Brothers just do this like crazy 180 over the course of the last 2 to 3 weeks? Because a Minecraft movie is also a Warner Brothers movie, which we'll talk about. It's a huge hit right now.
Point, which is the success of Minecraft, which we'll talk about, came from they knew which audience they were targeting, and they went for it hardcore. We'll talk about it later.
They also got really lucky. We'll talk about that.
But I wonder if you can hyper-target. Like, can you hyper-target PTA? I don't know. So it's more of a Sinners thing.
I mean, that is so. The marketing angle is still up in the air. Like, who is the audience, and are there enough of them? But I think they should just go with
They just push it as
the
an
audience
is
people who like movies. That's the fucking audience, and so push the bigness, the uniqueness, the action of it. Try to get some viral energy around it, and the fact that Warner Brothers is rolling out the P&A budget in April for a September movie means I think they are optimistic about One Battle After Another 2. It started to have some test screenings. They moved the release date back to be an award season. I think Warner Brothers is optimistic about what they have here. I think they're excited about it. They're spending money on it, which is exciting. I think this could actually hit. And here's the thing, Joe. One Battle After Another has to hit. That's my other point. It has to hit. So we have to, I don't know what the rest of the world is going to do, but movie lovers out there, here's what you have to do. Whatever you can, let's meme the shit out of that trailer. Leo already went.
It's already going to be with that Revolution moment at the end of the trailer.
Right? Thank you,
That's
Sensei.
already a meme. Thank you, Sensei. Is already a meme.
We already have the Leo meme from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We need a Leo meme from One Battle After Another. So let's meme it. Then when this movie comes out, if you're a movie lover, if you claim to love movies, and we claim that, you have to go to see this movie opening weekend, and you know what? You have to go see it twice opening weekend. Because here's the thing: Warner Brothers kind of called our bluff with this movie, and they kind of have us backed into a corner. Which is that for years now, movie lovers have been saying, "Big studios, please, can we just?" We're not saying you can't make comic book movies, but can you please spend money on something that's not a comic book movie? Please, just one. And this year, Warner Brothers said, we'll do like 3 or 4 of those. We'll do Mickey 17, we'll do Sinners, and the big one, we're going to give Paul Thomas Anderson you're the guy that you all dream about at night, your fucking favorite movie director. We're going to give him so much money, it's going to be coming out of his ears. He's not going to know what to do with it. There, are you happy? And here's the thing. I now understand why Warner Brothers did this, because it's a win-win for them. It's definitely a win if the movie makes money. They don't care where the money comes from. So it's definitely a win if the movie makes money. I think it's also a win if the movie does not make money, because then that gives them a reason to turn around and say to all the artsy-fartsy directors in town, all the movie critics, all the pretentious movie lovers, all of us, they can say, yeah, we tried that. We tried it your way and it didn't work. So sorry, we're going to go make Chicken Jockey the movie. Thank you very much.
That's a good idea.
That is a good idea. But what's also a good idea is more movies like One Battle After Another, because I think this can actually work for Warner Brothers, and it has to work for movie lovers everywhere. Otherwise, it's just going to be Minecraft sequels until we all die or get walked into the ocean by whatever fascist government runs the America in the next 20, 30 years. So this movie has to work for the future of movies, for the future of America, for the future of everything. We all have to go see One Battle After Another, and we have to make it a big, fat, stinking hit. And I think it might be able to do it. I just think, Joe, 6 people at the Amateur suddenly had a reason to live because of this trailer.
6 people at the Amateur.
It's going to take more than that, though. What do you say? Should we get this week?
I can't
episode
wait.
Going? All right. Oh, Carson, roll that fanfare, please. Ooh, there it is.
Welcome to Movies, Baby, the weekly show where we break down the hottest movie news, review the latest releases, shout out forgotten classics, and prophesy the future of Hollywood. I'm Joe Cilio, a.k.a. the Philly Movie Freak, and I'm joined by my co-host, Brett Boehm, a.k.a. the Georgia Movie Dog.
Go Dogs! We're coming to you live from the San Fernando Valley, baby, and it's week 2 of Minecraft Madness, the movie that just won't quit. We're going to talk all about that, what the hell's going on with Chicken Jockey and all that shit. We're also going to bring you reviews of the new movies Drop from Blumhouse and Warfare from Alex Garland and A24 and others. And then in the second half of the show, this is very exciting. For Patreon subscribers only, we are bringing back one of our classic segments, The Great Debate, where Joe and I apply the laws of high school debate to movie criticism, where one of us is going to be in favor of the movie, one of us is going to be against the movie, a positive review, a negative review, but we don't know who is who until 5 minutes before we do the review. So we're going to draw straws during the break. Someone's going to be against the movie, someone's going to be for the movie, and that movie is none other than the aforementioned The Amateur, starring Rami Malek. We both saw it. And we instead of telling you what we actually think, like we normally do, we are just going to draw straws, and somebody's going to do thumbs up, somebody's going to do thumbs down, and it's going to be up to you to decide.
So let it rip.
Who gave the more convincing argument? And it's not about what you think about the movie or what we think about the movie. It's about who gave the better argument, whose logic was more sound. That'll be in the second half for Patreon subscribers only. Sign up at patreon.com/moviesbaby with 5 Ys. That's going to be a lot of fun. But first, this week on Movies Baby, it's week 2 of Minecraft Madness at the movie theaters, and now that the smoke has cleared a bit on this surprise success, we've got the full breakdown. We understand it a little bit better now. We were taken off guard, like I think a lot of you were weekend 1, but we understand now a little bit better what's going on, what happened. We're going to break it all down for you, give the analysis that you crave, and we're also going to talk about some other box office news this week and what's going on with some other big movies that came out. And on that note, Carson, will you please show me the money? And by the money, I mean the weekend box office returns. There they are. Holy shit.
God.
Holy shit. It won't stop.
Oh, my God.
It won't stop. A lot of money a lot of money across the board.
People going
nice
to the
little
movies.
weekend at the box office.
Number 1, though, Brett, let's just say it. Domestically, a Minecraft movie is the winner with $80 million.
In its second weekend.
Gross. In its second weekend. That beats its first weekend projections in its second weekend.
Yeah. That's essentially what Captain America Brave New World made its first weekend.
Exactly.
This year's first Marvel movie.
And that was like a big, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Not really. So $281 million domestic so far for
worldwide
Minecraft.
is 550. It's up to 550 million worldwide, so it's doing well internationally too. That's the biggest American movie of the year by far. It ain't gonna catch Neza too, but nothing will this year. But a Minecraft movie, oh my God, will not stop, keeps churning. The money train keeps churning. And
also,
yeah, please.
Shout out to Angel Studios.
Shut up.
No, I'm serious. These guys are always winners. Look at the King of Kings, number 2, $20 million opening.
What is the King of Kings, Joe? As our resident Christian
The King of
movie
Kings
expert.
is an animated movie, I believe, probably about, since it's Passover-y, I bet it's about Moses? I'm not really sure.
No, I'll tell you what King of Kings is.
Okay,
Charles Dickens. You didn't think I was going to say that. It's from a Charles Dickens like short story or something. The movie is narrated by Charles Dickens, voiced by Kenneth Branagh, and Charles Dickens basically like sits his son down. I don't know who his son is, but he sits his son down and he says, "Hey, let me tell you the story of Jesus." Kitty, Sonny, baby boy.
Charles Dickens?
Yes, Charles Dickens is the narrator of the movie.
And then Oscar Isaac is in this movie?
It's a lot of stars. There's a lot of stars.
Because Angel Studios, they're the studio that brought you Sound of Freedom and a lot of other stuff. They're also associated with The Chosen, which brought in Part 3 alone, brought in $6 million domestic this weekend.
Yeah. And hold on a second, because King of Kings, this is, I want to say, because Angel Studios, you said applause to them. This is their biggest. This beat the Sound of Freedom opening weekend. So this was even bigger. Sound of Freedom did like 18 something opening weekend. So King of Kings is Angel Studios' biggest opening ever, and it's beating out The Amateur from 20th Century, Warfare, an A24 movie, Drop, which had distribution by Universal Studios. So it's beating out the major studios, and it came in second at the box office this week. So the Christian takeover of American movies continues.
No, Brett,
congratulations, Christians.
Sure. But also, it just speaks to exactly what we're going to talk about with the Minecraft movie, is that when you have an engaged fan base that you know how to like engage with, optimize, turn out, and you can produce content for them, there's a ton of upside in hyper specification rather than pursuing these broad tentpole yesterday's 4-quadrant pictures. Forget about them. Minecraft hit because they're worried about Minecraft movies. King of Kings hit because Angel Studios worried about the faith-based audience and that they had grown and matured, much like the Minecraft team, for years and years and years. You know, so that's the story here, Brett. That's the story.
It's a good point. It's a good point. And speaking of the old way of doing things, we had 3 other big openings this week that we're going to talk about: The Amateur, Warfare, and Drop, by either major studios or very accomplished indie studios, and none of them really hit. Amateur made $32 million worldwide on a $60 million budget. That's not a stinky flop, but that's not great.
That's kind of surprising. Good, honestly. The Amateur.
No, it's more money. Honestly,
I'm surprised.
When I saw 32 gross opening weekend, I was like, "Oh, great job!" And then I saw the $60 million budget, and I was like, "What?
Yeah,
spent $60 million on this
Fair
movie."
Enough.
It wasn't. There was no way it was going to succeed because that is. I agree. That's
that's very
good. That's like overperforming for a Rami Malek led sort of like
randomly dropped,
not buzzed about spy movie. Warfare made $8.3 million domestic. It didn't have an international release.
That's good.
But again, $20 million budget. I didn't really think.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I was like, watching it. I was like, that's like 10 or less. Way to go. No, $20 million
that's
budget.
Okay. That's a good opening for that.
So ironically, though, the third performing out of these 3, Drop, Blumhouse thriller distributed by Universal, did the best relative to its budget. It got $10 million worldwide on an $11 million budget. Thank you, Blumhouse. That's a budget. They know how to do things over there, but at least budget-wise. We'll talk about the movie later. So relative to its budget, I think Drop did the best out of the sort of like second-tier wide releases this week. But good God, the story, you're right, is hyper specification, Minecraft, and King of Kings. It's just going to be more of that. If you know your niche and you know your audience, you have a good chance of success. And like just said, Chosen showing up as well here. Last Supper Part 3.
And honestly, I think Warfare was able to drive that 8.5 million opening weekend because in the last week or 2 of their marketing effort, they focused on the pro soldier audience. I don't know what else you want to call it. They made sure that the audience knew that in this movie Warfare, these soldiers weren't going to be derided. It was going to be, it's not going to give them PTSD. It's actually something they can all gather around, and different soldiers were coming out saying how much they loved the movie. And that sort of hyper-targeted sort of approach yielded results. Like A24, think about, they've had some Y2K or in some other comedies.
Death of a Unicorn.
Death of a Unicorn. $2 million openings with these stars. Paul Rudd, Jenny Ortega, the biggest stars in the world, because they're trying to they think they're doing like comedy, but that's not specific enough. warfare is so specific of a film.
Yeah.
It's about soldiers.
Yeah.
And you make the money when it's about Y2K. Like, remember how we all did Y2K and we all were growing up in the 90s kids? That's not specific enough. It's just not going to work for marketing. It sucks. It's just the facts. And what do you think? I mean, that's kind of true.
I think it's an excellent point, and the movie that best exemplifies this point of the hyper specification of ironically, you have to get more specific and more niche to get a bigger audience nowadays. And the movie that best exemplifies that is the one we're going to talk about now, which is a Minecraft movie. Oh my God, this thing turned around the entire 2025 box office. What a dismal year for the box office until Jack Black and his chicken jockey showed up.
And Lava Chicken.
And Lava Chicken and I'm Steve and all the rest of it. Now, what happened here? Because last week, Joe and I went to see this movie. Joe had one of the rowdy screenings where people were yelling and applauding and stuff. I did not, but I had sort of heard about the chicken jockey phenomenon. I stupidly, as an old person, thought that meant that it was like a really good scene. That's why people were talking about it. And so when that scene happened in the movie, I was like, what? Why are people talking about chicken jockey?
I thought they liked it in the game. I was like, oh, they must love this part of the game. But that's so, like, in retrospect, so silly. Like, of course, what everyone was responding to was the memification of the movie, and we're just like old heads, and now we get it, and you guys are geniuses over at Minecraft. Yeah.
Now that we've had a week to understand this, and we've looked into it all, you've probably seen. And look, the audience is like us, though. Our show has a niche audience, hyper specific audience of people like us, sort of aging, bitter movie lovers is our audience, and we love you. We are one of you. But we all, saw the videos this week of all these Minecraft screenings all over the country. Rowdy teenagers getting up, throwing popcorn everywhere. There was a theater in somewhere where these two idiots brought an actual chicken into the movie theater, and they're wearing the Minecraft mask, and they stand up with the chicken, and they're going crazy, and they're treating it like Rocky Horror Picture Show, and theaters are threatening to call the police on these kids for throwing popcorn.
And calling them.
Yeah, and actually calling them. And then there was one theater in New Jersey that would not allow teenagers to come into a Minecraft movie if they were not chaperoned by a parent.
Good.
So they were getting really crazy with this. Like Jack Black actually showed up to one of these screenings and told the audience in his very Jack Black way, like,
we're not gonna do any of that.
Hey guys, be cool though, be respectful. He's such a company man now. It's really funny. And God bless, he's making so much money for the movie industry. Jared Hess, the director, hilariously didn't get any media training, because he came out and said, I love it, throw more popcorn. So good for you, Jared.
That he wants to rep. It's his cultural phenomenon. He's saying go forth. And you know what he said? It's just popcorn never hurt anybody.
Popcorn never hurt anybody.
Good point.
Well, tell it to somebody that choked on popcorn. I'm sure there's a lot of people like that.
What?
People have died from choking on popcorn, surely, in the history of the kernels and everything.
All right, Jared, so
it's actually probably
apologize.
Probably one of the
Jared
most choked on foods, I would assume.
It's not really so funny, is it?
Now, here's why all this happened, though, because last week Joe and I were just two old heads, just not understanding what the kids were doing. But we've done our research and we get it now. What is happening with the Minecraft movie, and the reason it was so successful, is for two reasons. One, like Joe said last week, the biggest reason is it's the biggest video game of all time. It's a hugely, hugely successful video game that has this very active current base of users, and they came out in droves to see the movie. So that is like the number one reason this was successful. The number two reason is that the trailer, ironically, was so bad. The initial trailer they came out with was so bad that people online started making fun of the trailer, started memeing the trailer, started taking bits out of the trailer and turning them into memes and laughing about them over and over online. And specifically, it's the things that have now become like the big sort of cultural touch points of the movie. Chicken jockey, Jack Black saying, I am Steve, all of these things. They were making fun of them. And so for months and months and months, they've been making fun of these things online. And that crowd came out in huge numbers opening weekend. They're the ones that turned it into Rocky Horror, because it's this big joke of it is actually a pretty funny joke. It's like, hey, what if this dumb movie with this dumb trailer, what if we all treated it like the biggest cultural event of the year? And it's something that we saw in 2022 with Minions Rise of Gru, the Gentle Minions meme, where this same group, 3 years ago, high school boys, all were dressing up in suits to go see the Minions movie.
I'm glad that high school boys still got it.
It's really fun. It's funny. Don't bring a live chicken. Honestly, the live chicken is the only thing that feels over the line to me. Don't bring a live chicken to a screening. Don't fuck around with live animals, period, unless you're taking care of them. But Everything else is kind of cracking me up. I'm not gonna lie. This is kind of funny, and I think it's good for movies.
This weekend, you can't throw the popcorn anymore. You missed it. You should have gone this weekend.
Fair.
That's the only thing I'll say. Is like, if you went this weekend and you threw popcorn, you got in under the wire. But next weekend, starting right now, you can't throw popcorn. Now you missed it, and you're being just lame and rude. Okay,
that's fair. Right? That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
To our good folk over at AMC, like, thank you for picking up all the popcorn.
Yeah.
You saved the culture. You saved, you were the cure to male loneliness. I appreciate that. But now we're going to stop throwing the popcorn.
That's a very good. You know what I mean? That's a very good position to take on this, because on the one hand, like, I hate, one of my biggest pet peeves is like making a mess for somebody else to clean up, particularly like people who work at a place like a movie theater or a restaurant.
No, but this is like a spontaneous pet peeve. Cultural,
but I also don't want to be too much of like a cop or a librarian about it. This was like a fun, spontaneous. I think what you said is right.
It's either that or Civil War.
When it was fun,
throw the popcorn at the Minecraft.
When it was
movie.
fun and spontaneous weekend one. Fine, have your fun, kids. You all bought. You honestly, these meme teenagers saved the box office.
No, I'm not mad about
them. They saved the movie industry for this year. Yeah,
they saved all the AMC people's jobs, unfortunately. And I'm sorry that you had to pick up. If someone threw Coke up in the air,
that's bad.
That sucks.
That's
They're
bad.
losers.
That's
Fuck them.
That's bad.
But for the first 2 weekends, I saw when I was leaving one of the terrible movies we saw this weekend, I saw a hyped up team of like 9th, 10th graders. And they were so happy, man. It was all guys. They were obviously going to see Minecraft because they were so like happy and bouncing into the theater. And they all like were like, ha ha ha. Like,
this is great. I can't hate this. I can't hate this.
Go forth.
This is all we want.
I love you guys.
Yes.
Have an amazing time at the movies.
And here's the thing, AMC. I will make a promise to you. Any movie chain any movie chain within driving distance of me. I can't get too crazy with this. But if other people want to do this elsewhere in the country, that's fine. If teenagers come to your theater. Here, I'm going to say this directly in the camera. If teenagers, I have a leaf mulcher, which is like sucks up leaves, right, and mulches.
Yes,
them,
yes.
okay?
I was okay, good. Go
right. Okay. So famously, I have a leaf mulcher. I won't stop talking about it. I think that's what Joe's alluding to. Is I always talk about this leaf mulcher. It's amazing. It's like a vacuum for your yard. It'll pick up anything. If teenagers, these rowdy teenagers come down to your theater and they're throwing popcorn, they're yelling chicken jockey. Obviously, don't call the cops. But call me. I will bring my leaf mulcher down to your theater. I will suck up all that popcorn for you so you don't have to do it, okay? I will do that for you. I can only do this, let's say, like 5 times a week, all right? But if
you do it 5 times a week?
This is important,
you
Joe.
have a job.
Much like One Battle After Another, we are talking, the theme of today's episode is crises in modern cinema, specifically around theatrical releases. One Battle After Another has to be a success, and I will come suck up popcorn at an AMC with my leaf mulcher because the success of Minecraft movie is important for the future of movies. It's important because what's happening is you listen to these kids talk about their experiences at this movie, these rowdy teenagers, and I was saying to you this before, they sound like Parisians in the early, in the early 20th century, going to the train movie where the trains come in, where they're talking about movies like they've never heard of going to the movies before. They're like discovering that it's fun to go to the movies via this insane.
You can laugh with your friends.
Yeah. They're like, and you're all together and you can have fun.
Beforehand, you can all talk and and then afterwards you can all go get pizza
and you can
talk
get
about the
soda
movie
and there's Coke, there's freestyle machines and stuff.
Right.
This rules.
Go on a date.
So thanks to a Minecraft movie and this insane sort of meme thing, Gen Z is done. They're with us now. You're old
Gen
now.
Z, guess what happened this weekend? Now you're us.
Yeah, you're old now.
You're old now. You were young yesterday, now you're old. So your bullshit's done. And welcome. We had bullshit. You had bullshit because you were young, but now you're right around 25.
Start contributing to your 401k.
Now you fucking stink. Now
you won't get that money back.
Now you're a loser. Now you're not interesting. Now you're just you're just out of work.
Now it's all about Gen Alpha. Now Gen Alpha has
Gen Alpha.
You had a chance to save the world and you failed, but it's okay.
Whatever.
We failed too.
Everyone fails.
But now Gen Alpha has a chance to save the world.
They won't.
And
it's fine.
The way they might do it is by going to the movies a lot. Go to a lot of movies.
I agree.
Bring the movies back. If we bring movie theaters back, it'll fix culture. Trust me, it'll fix everything.
We're well on our way. Check out Warner Brothers.
Well, speaking of Warner Brothers, here's my final question for you, Joe. Because of course, what happens when anytime a movie is successful, everyone suddenly comes out of the woodwork and wants credit for this thing. Everyone wants to be the one that made Minecraft movie successful. But my question for you is, who deserves credit?
I know the answer
for
to
a Minecraft movie's success. Who gets credit for this?
I've been thinking a lot about it, and really, honestly, it just boils down to one person.
Okay.
And that's Mary Parent at Legendary.
Deep cut and the correct answer.
No,
explain.
So Legendary produced this with Warner Brothers. Legendary does a great job. Whenever Warner Brothers movie is with Legendary, it always does a version of good because Legendary's ultimately really, really good at marketing, essentially, is what it, they're good at making movies too, but they really care about and understand the power of marketing. And David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers, is famously stingy when it comes to marketing budgets. Case in point, Mickey 17, case in point, all the other ones. He doesn't want to spend on P&A. He doesn't want to do any of this. But Legendary and their infinite, I've been here before, Zaslav, you're a TV hack. They said Mary Parent in her contract for this film to be a producer, she's like, you have to commit right now before we even start to a marketing budget that will allow this movie to succeed. So, Mary, you get my first place for credit.
Yeah. No, Joe's right.
Because
Joe's right.
At the contract level, that's when, that is not just like a moment to be done with and move on. Like, you can solve so many problems right there, and Legendary did that. And then the number 2 person that I want to compliment is, okay, with that budget, there's still people over at Warner Brothers that know how to fucking spend a budget, because their marketing team were the ones that cracked the code on this Minecraft movie. They leaned into the meme. They did test screenings at the studio, and the studio ended up cutting stuff to make it more for kids, more Minecraft focused, more just for the fans. And the hyper-targeted money that Mary Parent put in that contract was spent super, super well, super targeted. Brett and I probably didn't experience 80% of the marketing because it was all online, in the game, on the phone, driving people out. So my big ups to Legendary for understanding the importance of marketing, and big ups to the team over at Warner Brothers for using those dollars well. It bodes well for the other studio releases this year.
So Warner Brothers still knows how to market, but they need a cattle prod stuck up their ass in order to spend the money to do it. And that's what Mary Parent accomplished. Now, the two people...
Or another way to say it is, if you give them an appropriate marketing budget for the scale of the picture, they'll be able to effectively market it. If you just kneecap them, fire everybody, and don't give them any money to spend, your movies are going to suffer.
Excellent point. Now, the two people that are most eager to grab credit for this thing and are trying to is, of course, Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy, our old friends Mike and Pam, who are running Warner Brothers, and who, the reports a couple weeks ago was that Zaslav was looking around for replacements. They were seemingly on their way out. And they might still be on their way out by the end of the year, depending on how things go. But for now, Minecraft movies save their jobs. And apparently they're referring to it in their circles and in industry circles as their first true greenlit picture at Warner Brothers, meaning the first picture they actually greenlit, which is not at all true. And they some internet sleuths actually dug up references where they had referred to Joker Folie à Deux as their first true green light picture. But you know what? People in Hollywood have amnesia. It's what did you do for me lately? And right now, Mike and Pam are sitting pretty because a Minecraft movie is bringing in more money than anything else has close to done this year. But now they've got Sinners, and now they've got One Battle After Another coming up, which are challenging pictures. But like we said, who knows? Now Warner Brothers has their swagger back a little bit, and they should do what they did on Minecraft, which is spend on marketing. Really get they've done that with Sinners, but get One Battle After Another out there. Get that freaking IMAX trailer playing across the country, because that thing is blowing minds and will turn butts out in seats come September. Any final words on this week's box office on a Minecraft movie?
No.
I think that was pretty good.
I think the old guys summed it up.
I think the old guys summed it up.
Good job, Minecraft movie. I will, for this podcast, have to see another Minecraft movie.
Yeah.
Which
but you know what?
I'll
do it. I'll do it for you teenagers.
I'll do
Thank
it
you,
to
teenagers.
see what you guys cook up for the funnies.
I can't wait. Just no actual animals. But other than that, I cannot wait to see what you cook up for Minecraft Movie 2 or the Chicken Jockey spinoff or whatever we're doing. If they do a Chicken Jockey spinoff, these kids will burn the theaters down.
I would put it into production tomorrow. Yesterday.
Tomorrow. I know I saw another report this week that was like, Warner Brothers now in initial talks for Minecraft sequel. I was like, initial talks? How are you not making it? Start making it. Start making it now.
They're making it.
They will. They will. Let's get to our movie reviews. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Oh, this week on Movies Baby, we saw the new Blumhouse thriller Drop and the Alex Garland co-directed movie Warfare from A24. We're going to tell you what we thought, and as always, we're going to be honest, baby. Let's start with Drop, all right? Drop was directed by Christopher Landon and written by Jillian Jacobs and Chris Roach. It stars Megan Fahey, Brandon Sklenar, Violet Bean, and Jeffrey Self. I liked seeing Jeffrey Self get a big role here. I like Jeffrey. I like Jeffrey Self a lot.
Every way.
Yeah, it was great to see him get a sizable role in this movie. The DP was Mark Spicer. I know you were dying to find out who the DP of Drop was. This movie was produced by Blumhouse and Platinum Dudes. I love
Platinum Dudes.
Michael Bay's company. Michael Bay's
they do all the good movies.
Military contract / movie production
Bad
company.
Boys 2. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Every time
reboot.
I see the Platinum Dunes logo come up, I'm like,
it's gonna be a
what
banger.
is this nasty mess gonna be?
Oh, thank fucking God.
What is this nasty mess gonna be? It was distributed by Universal, our neighbors across the street, and like we said earlier, it grossed $10 million worldwide in its opening weekend against an $11 million budget. Now, just a little bit of background before we get into our reviews, Joe, because Christopher Landon. I want to talk Christopher Landon for just a second. Give the people some context if they aren't familiar with this guy. He's the son of actor Michael Landon. Where are my Little House on the Prairie / Highway to Heaven heads out there? He's a Nepo baby son of Michael Landon, and he was on a pretty meteoric rise in the horror world from 2017 to 2020 because he had Happy Death Day, then Happy Death Day to You, and then Freaky all come out in pretty quick succession in those 4 years. Happy Death Day was a huge hit at the box office, has become kind of, I guess you can't really call it a cult hit because of how much money it made. It's just a very successful
popular horror
sort of movie. The second one did all right. It did pretty well. Freaky didn't get a huge release, but I think has done very well in streaming. And
people like that.
Yeah, people like Freaky a lot. So Landon was on a real hot streak. He was one of Blumhouse's new big directors. And he also had sort of developed a signature style, which is so important to a director's career. He got known for these sort of horror comedies that are kind of fun, a little light. I mean, Freaky had some real kills in it, but still horror comedies, they're fun. They usually have these, sort of interesting female protagonists, and they just sort of go down easy, and they're fun, but they're also sort of innovative. They're high concept. Freaky, of course, was like a Freaky Friday movie, but as a horror movie with a serial killer and a teenage girl switching bodies. So he had this signature style. He had this mojo going. Everything was happening for Christopher Landon. And then he got what he referred to at the time as his dream job. He was hired as the director of Scream 7, which, as someone who had sort of dabbled in meta horror, of course it's their dream job. That's the one you want. The meta horror, franchise to end all meta horror franchises. But then, of course, Scream 7, if you know the story, imploded in late 2023 when the production company Spyglass fired one of the stars of the movie, Melissa Barrera, for making pro-Palestine comments. So they literally fired her for things she said. I hope they're getting sued for that. I don't know about that, but they fired her for some political comments that she made. And then Jenna Ortega, the other star of the movie, exited shortly thereafter. At the time, they said it was because of scheduling conflicts with Wednesday. She has since said, no, I left because they fired my friend for politics. And then Christopher Landon exited the movie shortly thereafter, and we later found out that was because the fan bases incorrectly assumed that he was responsible for the firing, and he got tons of hate mail and threats and all this kind of stuff. And he was I literally had nothing to do with it. I had no power. I had nothing to do. And I mean, who knows? Maybe he could have done a little something more, but the fact is, he
wasn't even hired yet. He didn't do Scream 6.
Yeah.
He's just a fucking guy who might work on the movie.
Very true. Very true. So he sort of unfairly got blamed for it, and as a result of that and just everyone exiting the movie, the whole project sort of fell apart. He left, and then it's now been sort of reconfigured with Nev Campbell and a new director, et cetera, et cetera. But
Scream 7 almost sucked ass.
Right. Stop.
Thank God.
But that kind of derailed his career in a way, because that was trajectory was on path. Now he gets the big franchise. He's going to take over. He's going to be the new Scream director, and that sort of got him off track. And then he jumped on board this movie Drop that he didn't write. It was a movie that he just sort of was hired to direct, and so that is where we're at with the context, with the lead up to Drop. It's why Christopher Landon's directing. Joe, my question for you is, what'd you think of this movie? You saw Drop in theaters. Now that we know the context.
I saw Drop in theaters.
What'd you think of Drop? And we should say this movie is about a single mom.
Thank you.
Who is recovering from some just like crazy intense domestic violence from previous partner, and she's getting back into the dating scene. She's on Tinder. She agrees to meet up for her first date since all of this has happened with this hunk. This kind of mysterious hunk.
He's an attractive guy.
Brandon Sklenar, very hunky.
We'll say
hunky.
it right now. Fellow looks good.
They had his outfit in the front of AMC City Walk, like in the glass case,
it's so
and
funny.
I was like, I wonder if I could pull that outfit off.
Sure, but the
tank top under the
if you're asking me if you can fit in the clothes, like I bet, but I don't know.
I don't think I could pull the look off. Though.
No, I don't think. You're like in what, like you, like Megan Fahey.
Would I look good?
If Megan Fahey was scrolling through Tinder or whatever, it's all you wearing that shirt. and she was
exact same
would
outfit.
She go on a date?
My face instead of Brandon Sklar's face.
Yeah, no, dude, totally. She would say yes. She would give you a super like.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now they go on the date. They go on is in one of these fancy restaurants. It's at like the top of a skyscraper, so you have a view of, in this case, Chicago.
Such an asshole first date place.
It really is for like a salt of the earth guy.
It was like,
it's a weird choice.
I'm a salt of the earth guy. You haven't been out of your house in 5 years. Let's go to the nicest restaurant in the city.
And they're like nice and tacky. You know, like skyscraper restaurants are always like both.
Also, this meal's going to cost like $500 for real.
And this date though gets interrupted because somebody is fucking with her. They're sending her airdrop threats, and then it turns out that they have like a assassin at her house that's going to kill her kid and here's the hook of the movie, if she doesn't kill her date. So it's a first date where you got to kill your date. Okay, that's the movie. Joe, what'd you think of Drop?
Drop sucked ass. I hated it. It was so bad. I wanted to like it. Let's start there. Like I want to like all these movies, Brett. And Drop actually looked really good.
I really wanted to like
the trailer. Was really good. It was like I'm not above silly. Like it's not about this movie was a little silly. Like that's fine. I don't give a shit about it being a little silly. What I care about is it also having any emotional heft in the sense that it keeps me engaged. Like to be completely alienated from every decision in the movie, every character, and just kind of the whole entire time be wondering like, what are you guys doing? Is a very annoying movie watching experience. This movie is like, it's just like babysitting a 3-year-old. This movie's like, come here, stop, sit, stop, please, get in, please, go, stop. It's just like Megan Fahey stands up. Oh, I gotta go check on my So the guy's torturing her on the phone, and one of the big like things is the guy's like, don't tell your date that something horrible's happening to you on the phone. So she's like, yeah, everything's fine, which is like good dramatic like catalyst for plotting.
Great hook.
Except that like it's played like a doofus. And this really goes back to Christopher Landon's like big problem and why he is really an unattractive horror director to me is Brett, I'm so sorry, this guy does not have the courage of his convictions, and he is worried that you are not being entertained the whole time, and he keeps going, so don't worry, here's another thing, don't worry, here's another thing, are you bored? Here's another thing, I'm so sorry, here's another thing. Fucker, relax. Let me meet these two characters. Like, can they talk for more than 1 minute together so I could begin to even kind of care about them or their relationship? All I know is that if I was sitting at the table next to them, I would have asked for my money back. These fuckers ruined the meal. They were up. They were down. They went to the bar. They went to the bathroom. They had to go take a phone call. They had to go say hi to somebody at another table. He thought of they wrote on a board, like, what are all the ways we can get them activated in the script? And they must have gone through and named all the ways they could activate the people. And then they just did them one after another. Relax. This movie, sometimes it would have a shot where you're like, yep, I've seen a Hitchcock movie. There's a shot, and you're like, I've seen a fucking Orson Welles movie, you loser. Just because you have 5 shots from good movies in your fucking hour-and-a-half long movie doesn't mean you're fucking Orson Welles, and it doesn't mean it's fucking good. It pisses me off.
Christopher Landon is not Orson Welles.
Your shots stink. So don't throw in some fancy ones for fun sometimes. Just fucking be happy being a Netflix director. Again, another thing I fucking hate is like, or I don't hate, one of the hardest things to do is texting on screen. That is a challenge. It's a challenge for any show, any production. You want to have texting. It's like a very thing that people do for the past decade. If you want to have a movie about somebody, they're probably going to be texting.
Yeah.
How can we tell the audience what they're texting, right? It's always a choice, and it's always interesting to see how they handle it.
What do you think about how Drop did texting? Did you think it was well done?
No, I thought the texting in Drop was done terribly. It was so obnoxious. It was like the words were like floating around and like coming out dramatically with stings and popping out.
It was like a really talented like high school students like multimedia project.
It was so weird.
I was like, what is the aesthetic
it's
here?
Like, Christopher, like we are not bored.
Yeah.
Like relax. Megan Fahey's
so much multimedia.
Megan Fahey's very good.
She's
Like, is she like? I don't know. I don't really feel like anything bad about Megan Fahey.
No shade to any of the performances in this movie. The problem is not the performance.
The handsome man, Brendan. Handsome and good.
He was a handsome man.
One of the best things about him was I was like, well, both things about both of them was like, even despite the up and down and the back and forth, and they're like, I'm sorry, I have to go to the bathroom for the 15th time. Oh my God, I forgot my watch in the bathroom. Oh my God, I have to go to the bathroom again. And this guy's like, this movie only makes sense.
She goes to the bathroom one more time, I'm leaving.
This movie only makes sense if she looks like Megan Fahey and he looks like Brendan Sklar. Whatever.
There's a point where she like he's finally gonna leave, and she like kisses him to make him stay because he has to stay because she has to kill him to save her son, and so she kisses him, and like
he stays.
Like when she goes in for the kiss, in my head, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And then as soon as their like lips touch and they're just two handsome people kissing, I was like, this makes total sense.
I was like, I would sit down. I would fucking plop
But that's
down.
on Fahey and Sklenar. That's not the movie.
Well, to their credit, they made it believable that this could even begin to kind of make sense in any fun way, shape, or form. And then Jeffrey Self was like the waiter.
He's
and
great. He's very
like,
funny.
So funny and like good, but like the movie didn't need that. It didn't help the movie that Jeffrey was really funny. Like it must have helped on set.
Yeah.
Lighten the mood.
I hope it helps his reel though. I hope he gets more roles though.
I'm not saying Jeffrey Self wasn't really funny doing his thing. I'm just saying for the movie, why?
Yes.
Why this?
Yeah.
What is the tone? Are we having fun? Are we not having fun? Am I supposed to really care? Am I supposed to not care? The twists and turns were all facile. I thought the movie was just ultimately stupid. And I think really what I'm responding to, I'm not anger, it's disappointment because it looked fun.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is what I want to talk about. Well, how many stars did you give it, Joe?
1.5 stars. Very bad.
1.5 stars. Very bad. I want to pick up on that because I think this movie was confused as to what it was doing from the get-go, because I remember when the poster came out, and the poster is cool. The poster sort of suggests a like stylized hip thriller. It's like a big block of red and then just Megan Fahey's eyes with the foam. And it looks very cool and almost sort of like simultaneously like hip and like sort of throwback retro like thriller, you know, the way like, I don't know, some sort of like cool thriller from the 70s might have a poster done about it. And so the poster, I was like, oh, cool. And then the trailer came out. And I was like, I honestly, for like several weeks, because the poster and the trailer were all over AMC for months. There was a couple of weeks where I did not in my brain make the connection that the trailer and the poster were the same movie, because the trailer.
Oh wow!
I know, because the trailer. It took me a second, because the trailer has a totally different tone from the poster. The trailer is like, sort of big fun skyscraper thriller, and it's like, oh, okay, that looks cool. And then, but like, what's this movie Drop? That looks also cool. And then something clicked, and I was like, oh, these are the same movie. Like, this poster doesn't feel like the trailer feels. So already there was like a disconnect in the marketing as to what this movie was going to be. But I was like, fingers crossed for like big dumb fun skyscraper thriller was what I was hoping for, right?
I love the idea of this movie.
Because that's what the marketing sold us.
I love the idea.
And then when I sit down in this movie, Joe, and that opening score started by Bear McCreary, who he did Happy Death Day, I saw. But he's sort of better known as like the Battlestar Galactica. Like, he does big, sort of intense, magisterial, sort of traditional scores. And when this like solemn magisterial score started I was like, am I in the right theater? I was like looking around. I was like, they don't do the marquees anymore. But I was like, is this Drop? Is this Drop? Because this sounds like I'm about to watch freaking like I don't know, like Body of Lies. What is that Ridley Scott movie? Yeah. Like, about to watch something like solemn and sort of self-serious.
Domestic abuse up top is so intense.
Right. Yes.
So you're like, okay. Okay.
So I recalibrated exactly.
Let's do this
because the movie doesn't have to be anything for me.
No, right.
I will follow your lead. I just need to know what movie I'm watching. So as soon as the opening scene was like this flashback of this intense domestic violence, I was like, oh, I have misjudged this movie. I didn't realize what I was coming into.
Same.
Okay, I'm going to recalibrate, and now I'm on board with this movie.
Yep.
But then they get to the date. They get to the restaurant, and it's like, oh no, I was right. You're trying to do like big dumb
funny,
skyscraper
big, dumb,
thriller,
fun, farcy horror thing.
And the problem, I think what you're alluding to, I think what the problem why it's just this movie where it's like too much and not enough, like too much stuff going on, but not enough like fun being had with the premise, not enough because all the stuff that's happening, a lot of stuff happens, but it's all like mechanics around trying to get the plot to work. None of it's not just like hey, think of like 5 fun ideas for this premise, like 5 like first of all. We're not going to spoil like the twist and everything, but I'll tell you one thing. Bigger body count, first of all. Like nobody really dies in the movie. Like there's not like enough threat or danger. There's not a big enough body count. There's not enough crazy shit that happens in this restaurant. It's just a lot of mechanics of Megan Fahey like getting up and going to the bathroom and coming back down and trying to sort of like stall essentially to figure out what's going on. But there's not enough hijinks. There's not enough fun. And I think the problem is that when you introduce the domestic violence thing, that gives you a very serious, heavy baggage character arc that you have to follow through. But it's like, this ain't the movie for that kind of character arc.
The domestic violence thing was like such a ham-fisted attempt at connecting
it was
you to
exploitative,
Megan Fahey's
honestly.
character.
It felt exploitative. Yeah.
It's just cheap screenwriting.
Yeah.
Her husband could have just died and she would have been worried about her son at home with just the amount of passion. But in order to like trick the dummies, we'll give her emotional heft by having her be a battered woman. Like it's fucking ridiculous. I hated it.
I really was honestly kind of offended by the way domestic violence is
I don't know,
utilized in this movie because I thought like in another Blumhouse movie, The Invisible Man with Elizabeth Moss, I thought the way that domestic violence was used in that movie as a theme was very effective.
Yeah.
And like people have different opinions about that movie, but that there at least is like a vision and an intention to the way that domestic violence is used in that movie. Here it just felt tacked on to give the movie some sort of like box checking, virtue signaling, thematic heft. This is just
poor screenwriting.
This is a fucking like dumb skyscraper thriller. I don't think it needs it. Or like if you're going to do it, you have to pull it off. But this movie did not pull it off. And in fact, it was the introduction of that domestic violence plot that like threw the movie askew, and it was trying to do too many things at once. And then it brings the domestic violence thing back sort of like and resolves it at the very end. And then that song we go out in on the opening credits. Oh my God. This song was like, it wasn't fight song, but it was like sort of like fight song. And I was like, what movie did I just watch?
I don't know.
I came here for fucking like Die Hard or like
I came here
Anna Nicole Smith's Skyscraper, something like that, and I left feeling like less than zero.
I came for Trap.
Yes.
This movie just shows you how impossible Trap is to do. Everybody thinks, oh, I can do that. It's so easy. It's so straightforward. It's so ham-fisted. It's so silly. It's like, you can't do that. You can't infuse the spirit of Trap into your movie just like and hope and pray. Like that's magic. That's like an artistry to have that sort of a tenor to the silliness and the plotting. And yes, Trap might make you think like, what is up with this movie? Is this movie like a version of bad? And it's like, this movie's a version of charming and a fucking version of awesome and a version of fun as hell. And Drop thinks it's playing some of those notes and some of those songs, but like that is just not something you can just pick up and do. It is way harder than it looks. And this movie stinks. Additionally, everyone thinks they can do Alfred Hitchcock. Everyone thinks they can do like a tense pot boiler, like
harder than it looks.
It's impossible.
Harder than it looks.
Just stop.
I'm gonna give this movie 1 star. I thought it was.
Wow.
I thought it was terrible.
Good
and again, nothing against the performers.
Not really.
They were all great. But I just thought like I really was disappointed. It's the disappointment.
Disappointment stinks.
1.5 stars if I knew nothing about this movie. 1 star because of the disappointment factor. Because I actually thought this could be like a little sleeper, fun Blumhouse movie.
Also,
and speaking of like Blumhouse, you're on notice, y'all. You're on notice. It's been a while. It's been a little too long.
I don't even like
since
Megan.
You've had a magical movie. And that Megan 2 trailer doesn't look great.
I don't care about Megan.
It doesn't look great. Yeah.
You know what I was gonna say? Last thing about how terrible it was and the disappointment. I forget. Let's move on.
That's how disappointed you are. You can't even remember this final point.
I can't even remember this really good point.
You know what my final point is? and this is like, I don't know, maybe it's a little petty, but like, you know how like now, like if you have a movie that deals with domestic violence, it's basically like almost obligatory that you put up like at the end like a phone number for like, you know, if you're experiencing, you know how like every movie that does like domestic violence or like self-harm or they'll put up like the thing. The fact that Drop like didn't even do the obligatory like,
no, that's good.
I was like no, but it just sends home how like half-assed the domestic violence thing was. It was so half-assed. It was just a way of just like we gotta like do like a good thing. We gotta like have a good message in this movie. What's a good message everyone can agree on? Domestic violence is bad. Great. Show her fucking crazy husband like throwing a gun around at the kid before we start the actual movie.
So weird. I hated it.
It was very weird.
And do you know what else I hated? Last point on Drop, and it's an important one. I think if I had to guess, here's a little Hollywood prophecy for you. I bet that the costumer has a beef now with the color correctionist. This is what I wanted. This is the point I was waiting for. Right. Because I had a beef with the color correctionist the whole entire time too, and my heart goes out to the costume designer. The costume designer picked the Megan Fahey red bodysuit very specifically, very magenta, and it was in the script. Like, this is the good dress. We even had a whole scene of her trying out different dresses.
Yes.
She comes out every time she looks 100.
Every time she looks so
10
hot.
out of 10, and I'm like, oh, that's good. And then
her sister's like, no, you look like a dog. Back into the wardrobe with you. Until she came out with one that was like revealing.
Yes. Anyway, she wears this like powerful number, but you would never know that if you watch the movie because it's just blacked out, muted, grayed down.
Good call.
It fumbles into the scenery, and it doesn't pop at all. This costume designer thought they had the fucking Keira Knightley green dress in the movie.
Yes.
They were like, this is going to be iconic.
This is going to be the Breakfast at Tiffany's black dress.
The costumes have to be iconic, and to make this movie work, to make it like fun and memeable and iconic. Quote.
Yes.
Anyway, the
Wait,
color,
so you liked the costumes?
Yes.
You didn't like the way they were color treated?
Yes, because because the color that we were looking at in the movies, I bet it was complete. It was like fucking 10 shades darker than what the costume designer pulled out. So maybe that's the director's fault for not being able to have those two departments communicate correctly, or the editor's fault for not caring about color, or Blumhouse's fault for rushing it through post-prod. But it was a fucking missed opportunity. You have Megan Fahey. She looks great. She's wearing a dynamic piece of costuming that's completely absorbed into the background and horrible. And I also I thought about really liking the art direction of the restaurant that y'all made, but then I decided I don't like it.
Because here's the thing, what was that tunnel that you have to walk through to enter the restaurant was like the most visually stunning part of the whole movie.
And they knew
very
that too.
Cool, like, and they knew it, and they dwelled on this tunnel that you have to enter to get into the restaurant, and it looks like almost like acoustic paneling or something.
It looks like you're inside of a whale too. It's like the ribs of a whale.
Yes, it's like the body of a whale you're entering to go.
Yes,
and I was like, oh, cool. Surely this will have some sort of meaning later in the movie. None. They were just like showing it off. I was like,
there's one shot when the camera.
This could have been used for something.
The camera tilts as someone walks down the hall. That was to the great effect it was used.
Honestly, the only way it was used was where there's that scene where she's like using the like computer in the lobby, and the like the hostess is like over in the restaurant, and the hostess starts walking back. I was like, that's a long walk. That's it. That's the only use. And maybe that was the point of it. That the audience was like, she's got about 30 seconds. That's a long walk back to the hostess station. All right. Let's talk about Warfare. This movie is co-directed by Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland. Now, you know Alex Garland from Civil War last year, the A24 movie. You know him from Ex Machina, Annihilation. I mean, was one of our sort of great ascendant sci-fi directors, and now has sort of transitioned into sort of like politics, war.
And he also claims he's done directing.
He did, yes. He said that he is not, he's only going to be writing movies moving forward, and that this was his last directing movie, although he said that he sort of was very hands-off and was there just sort of, to sort of as a previous director to give some advice to Ray Mendoza, who was the, he did the combat stuff for Civil War. So he was like Alex Garland's combat expert in Civil War, because Ray Mendoza is an actual soldier. He experienced the things that you see in the movie. And so this is, Ray Mendoza's going to direct a movie. Let's get Alex Garland to kind of co-direct, help him out. But Alex Garland said he was very hands-off on this. Now, the movie is about Mendoza's own experiences during the Iraq War as a Navy SEAL. And specifically, the film is a reenactment of a specific encounter that he and his platoon experienced on November 19th, 2006 in the wake of the Battle of Ramadi. And it is a very, kind of urban warfare situation. There's this dense residential district, and the Navy SEALs occupy this one house as part of this mission. But then several other Iraqi combatants realize that the U.S. military is in this house, and then they all congregate and they're going to attack the U.S. military. And the U.S. military is now just trying to escape out of this house essentially before they get blown up in the street. It's all happening basically in real time. There's a little bit of a sort of cold open where they're sort of having fun and watching like a sexy music video. But then after that, once the combat starts, it's basically happening in real time. The DP was David J. Thompson. It was distributed by A24, and it stars a pretty big ensemble. We've got Reservation Dogs' DeFaro Wunatai, and then we've got Will Poulter, who we just saw in Death of a Unicorn. We got Cosmo Jarvis, who we just saw in The Alto Knights.
He was good.
He was great. I think he is a star in the making. We've got Joseph Quinn, who you know from Quiet Place and Stranger Things, and then Charles Melton from one of our favorite movies, May December, is in here as well. And then the film is dedicated to Elliot Miller, who is the character that Cosmo Jarvis is playing, who lost both his legs and his voice in this battle that we see. Joe, do you mind if I kick it off with Warfare?
Please.
Warfare. I found Warfare to be an incredibly effective and well executed filmmaking exercise. It clearly had sort of goals in mind, and I don't know, they weren't sort of like the traditional goals of a movie in terms of sort of traditional character arcs and storytelling and this and that. This movie's goal was to put you in the shoes of soldiers in combat, to make you feel, to the extent that it's possible in a movie, to make you feel what combat feels like, what warfare feels like, what modern warfare feels like, specifically in the Iraq War. And with that goal in mind, I thought this movie accomplished its goal. I mean, it is very intense. It is very claustrophobic. It is very scary, terrifying. You're sitting there watching it like this with your hand over your eyes because you're just like, the tension alone is overwhelming. I thought it was very well performed top to bottom. I thought all the actors did very well. Big shout out, like we just said, to Cosmo Jarvis, who, if you're one of the 10 people like us who saw Alto Knights, Cosmo Jarvis was like the driver, sidekick, mob assassin who put his head into his big move that he decided on was he sort of put his head down into his neck like
gave
this,
himself a double chin,
and he would always go like, Vito. He was like sort of like the dunce. He was like the not smart, mob kind of heavy. And he's, Vito, I tried to shoot him, Vito, but the bullet went around his head, Vito. And he looks like he's about to have a heart attack when he's talking.
Do you know who he's giving? He's giving me Tom Hardy vibes.
Yes,
because
it was a Hardy character. Yeah, it was like a Hardy.
And in Warfare too, he's like, he's not just talking like a normal person. He's like, oh, okay, I guess you're a Tom Hardy guy.
Cosmo Jarvis went to the Tom Hardy School of Acting, where it's like and it's kind of the it's almost the Robert Pattinson School of Acting too, where it's like weird vocal inflections, weird look, and then just let your charisma kind of flow through those avenues,
and then just let everyone know that under your clothes you're probably ripped to high heaven.
Beefy and ripped at the same time.
That.
Vito!
Yes.
Guys, you have to see Alto Knights just for Cosmo Jarvis.
Alto Knights is like a fine wine in my head. Just
I think about it sometimes.
It wasn't as bad as Drop.
No, it was not as bad as Drop for sure. I've been rating. We rate every movie. It's kind of like in the middle of the pack for movies I've seen this year.
It wasn't my least favorite,
which is more a comment on 2025 than anything. Now, Warfare. I wouldn't say at the same time. I wouldn't say it was a great movie though. I think it definitely accomplished what it set out to accomplish, but what it's trying to accomplish brings with it some obvious limitations. One of the big limitations is the movie's realism, because it is trying to beat by beat exactly replicate this actual event that occurred without any sort of Hollywoodizing of it or sort of making it more cinematic or making the storytelling more cinematic. And that's very cool, and it's very cool. I'm glad this movie exists, but as a result, there's like not a lot of twists and turns. There's not a lot of beats. It's kind of what we were talking about with September 5, where it's like you are sticking to the actual historical record, and as a result, there's just like not enough that happens. There's not enough kind of material to get you through. And you could argue that in this movie, the material is just the tension of the moment, but specifically, there's not a lot of plot sort of beats. There's not a lot that happens in this movie. And the other big limitation for me was this movie is very committed to a pro-American military stance, and that became very clear. Like there is the sort of talk about obligatory outros. And by the way, I didn't actually stay through the full closing credits of Drop, so if they put a phone number up on the screen, I apologize, but I didn't see it. Definitely didn't happen immediately, but. Warfare does a similar sort of obligatory thing where they show all the real soldiers like visiting the set, and it's very sort of like it's very
nice.
Sort of sentimental and nice. But when you pair that with the fact that the movie like does not even remotely try to ascribe agency to any of the Iraqis in the movie, or doesn't like all the Iraqi combatants are just faceless. They're just on rooftops over there,
but not kind of like very. On purpose.
Very on purpose. And the other thing is, like, I don't even really want Warfare to try to do that.
That's what I'm saying. It's
yes.
like the movie's very much not about the
yes.
situation even.
Yes.
It's just about these guys and what's directly in front of their noses over the course of this hour and a half. Like so I just want to say that you're right. It didn't like give me the Iraqi experience.
Yes.
It didn't even show me an Iraqi face. Like you don't see one Iraqi dying. You don't see anybody dying. You know what I mean? Like it's just about the guys.
Yes.
So
that's
just
fine.
throwing it
like,
out there.
No, you're absolutely right. And so it's not like it is a limitation the movie is ascribing to itself, but it still is.
That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
You're saying here's some limits. It capped its goodness. Essentially,
it did what it was trying to do, but it came with some sort of inherent limitations. The one thing that I actually sort of had a question about was they have that translator who's in their group that just is the one that you can't spoil Warfare. You know what's going to happen, but the translator just gets horribly killed as a result of like what's going on, and just like grotesquely killed.
Right.
Why wasn't the movie dedicated to that guy?
I don't know.
They dedicated it to Elliot.
He didn't seem to be part of their outfit.
I know, but like he was though.
But
like
was he?
But isn't it like all about the boys and the gang and the group? Like he's there with you.
Was the translator in the opening scene? Like I'm saying, is he an American soldier? Is what I'm saying.
I don't know. I don't know. But they were asking him to do things. They were forcing him to do things.
They were working. Yes, that's right.
And he was working in conjunction with them.
Fair enough. I agree.
He like grotesquely dies.
This is why the Covenant, Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, is way better. It respects translators in Iraq.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Because like the guy the movie is directed to is dedicated to, and look, like suffered horrible injuries.
Dedicated to him too.
Suffered horrible. Dedicated to him as well. But like he's alive. He visited the set of the movie. This other guy's got his guts hanging out on the street in Iraq. You're not going to dedicate the movie to that guy?
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And that was the moment where I was like, all right, that's a little. You're pushing you're pushing the American bias, like the military bias, a little bit too much for my comfort levels. But these are minor grievances. Overall, Warfare does what Warfare set out to do and it accomplishes it. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was good.
Brett, you took a lot of words right out of my mouth. I just want to underline that I did like the performances in this. Everybody did a great job. It's not like everybody had an abundance of screen time, but everybody was able to become real enough to me in the movie very quickly. That Call on Me opening where they all were laughing together about the sexy music video was like a much better way of making me love everybody than any of the like domestic violence cold open of Drop, where it's like, oh, I'll make the audience love Megan Fahey. We'll horrendously abuse her.
Trauma porn.
No. And in Warfare, the opposite. It's like, you know how everyone will love these guys? Just seeing them be friends, essentially, and loving each other.
It's a great opening scene.
It was a great opening scene. And it gets you hyped. The movie itself, well made. I liked the acting very much. It was super intense. But Brett's right. It's very much like a project. It's like a side quest. It's like an addendum. And I kind of wonder, it's just an interesting addendum to Civil War, honestly.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, there's a montage of the guys, like the soldier. So it's like you see a picture of the real soldier and a picture of the actor who played the soldier for all of the characters. And it's very sentimental, and you see the guy with the wheelchair. And it reminds me of when I saw American Sniper, Clint Eastwood's American Sniper, which is a movie about how horrible the war in Iraq is and how it fucks up this guy to ends that are just like unfathomable. And at the very end of American Sniper, there's this like lovely real footage montage of everybody like clapping and celebrating this psychopath that we, made in Iraq, Chris, whatever his name was. And it's just like, it's sort of, so at the end of American Sniper, it's like, wait a second, Clint, like you just did this like pretty excellent piece of like destroying, like breaking down why America in Iraq and the Middle East is folly. And now at the end, you're just sort of suggesting that like, but everyone's a hero and it's all good and sorry about Iraq and, clap, clap, clap. It's just kind of the same thing in warfare a little bit. I don't want to like over stress it. Obviously, Ray Mendoza was very personal to this project. He set out to do exactly what he was going to do. He was in the battle. Of course, he's going to honor his guys. Of course, he's going to put their picture up. It's different than Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
And that is noted. That is totally fine. It just, the sentimentality of the moment, Ray's closeness to it sort of makes it impossible for him to add any other perspective than his, which Garland really helped him accomplish with the interiority of the filmmaking. But like Brett said, it caps the grandeur of the project and it just limits it at project. I'm gonna give it 3 stars as well.
Nice.
Good movie.
Yeah. Good movie. Well, that concludes this week's first half of Movies Baby. Next week on the show, oh boy, next week, Joe. This is very exciting. Not only do we have Sinners.
Finally a show.
Finally, Sinners. Ryan Coogler's Sinners is coming out next week with Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld.
Josh Allen's Beau
and others. So we're going to be watching Sinners. We'll talk about that. We'll see how that does. Hopefully it does very well. And then, Joe, I know you can barely contain yourself beside me because we have a new David Cronenberg movie. David Cronenberg, the paterfamilias, not his
good son.
His equally not equally, sorry,
but like talented son.
On his way,
his talented son,
to being a good director as well as son. David Cronenberg's new movie, The Shrouds.
I almost can't believe it.
I love Vincent Cassel.
I cannot believe it's here. I can't believe we're actually going to see this. I feel like it's inappropriate for me to watch. Like it's going to be too personal. It's none of my business.
Isn't it amazing when like a Cronenberg movie just like pops up and it's like, oh shit, that's next week. That's coming out next week.
And not to. And just like it paired with Sinners, like Coogler has been put in the biggest movie situations time and time again ever since Fruitville Station, and all he's done is knock it out of the park. With these fucking Black Panther, Creed. I love Creed. I love Creed 2. I love Creed 3. Whatever.
Like if Sinners hits, we gotta start talking about Coogler as like one of the great contemporary directors right now.
Ding.
I mean, maybe already, but let's wait for Sinners. Sinners is kind of the one.
Let's see his original.
Yes, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah,
and I know he's got it in him. Let's see Sinners.
Original IP.
Let's see it before
budgets.
we crown him. Let's see it before we crown him.
I agree.
Okay.
And then in the second half of next week's show, this is very exciting. We're going to be picking. This is one of Joe's favorite directors, David Cronenberg. We're going to be picking our top 5 David Cronenberg movies. As always, we have to come up with one list. It's going to be a freaking bloodbath, much like a David Cronenberg movie. There's Dead Ringers right there, and a candidate for number 1. I know it's Joe's number 1.
I wonder if this will be making the list, Brett. A little movie.
This little sticker that comes up off the top. I don't want to. Okay, there. It's just get it off. Just get it off there. Yeah. That's been there since like I was 20 when I got that VHS. Finally, it reached the end of its lifespan.
It's done.
All right. But now, this week, in the second half of the show in 5 minutes, we have the Great Debate coming to you only on Patreon. The Great Debate. Joe and I are going to talk about this crazy movie we saw, The Amateur, starring Rami Malek. One of us is going to do a thumbs up review. One of us is going to do a thumbs down review. We will choose sides during the break. We don't know which one is which. But one of us is going to have to argue that this is a good movie. We'll see who that is. And it's up to you then to decide who gave the better argument, not who is right per se, but who gave the better argument. That's happening on patreon.com/moviesbaby with 5 Ys. And it's a little different this week. If you're watching on Patreon, you'll just have to go to the it's a separate live stream, but it's right there at the top of your Patreon feed. You'll find it right there, baby. And we'll see you there in 5 minutes. Bye.